back in the saddle again, ladies and gents. Gridiron 360. I'm Bill. I got Dave with me. And we are talking NFL free agency as we begin talking the American Football Conference. And we'll start with the AFC East and the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins currently have multiple picks in the first round. They have number 5 overall. They have number 18 overall, which was a trade from Pittsburgh that they received it from. They have a number 26 that they received in a trade from Houston. That might have been also part of that deal.
That was the Tunsil deal.
Yeah, the Tunsil Stills deal.
Yep.
So 3 picks in round 1, 5, 18, 26. In terms of their cap space, they are numero uno with $82 million. Now, some things have happened. I don't remember if that included that or not. But yeah, that's where they sit right now. In terms of needs, as far as what we saw, maybe looking some wide receiver, some offensive linemen, some running back, everywhere on their defense. We had mentioned before they had signed Eric Flowers, offensive guard from Washington, 3-year, $30 million, and Shaq Lawson, DN from Buffalo, 3-year, $30 million. Some names of note that they have free agency-wise: center Daniel Kilgore, guard Evan Bain, DN John Jenkins, right tackle Jamarcus Webb, Clive Walford, tight end, and a few others down the list. Punter Matt Hawk. Again, we think they need to be looking in terms of free agency and or draft or both, wide receiver, offensive lineman, running back, defense. Discuss.
So, I mean, look, here's the thing I would say. Obviously, there's a couple of things. They're flush with cash and they're flush with draft picks, which is a good place to be in when you're looking to rebuild. I will say, as it just came out a day ago, this whole Eric Flowers thing. Yeah. No, this came out this morning, actually. Now that I think about it, it came this morning. Not a lot of money for Eric Flowers. Don't know that was what I probably would have done. But this is a team that needs everything. Here's what I like about them, and I'm going to kind of start with the draft, even though this is free agency, only because I think it's important. But mind you, Miami has already signed. They have signed Flowers, and they've signed Shaq Lawson. So they've done well to get somebody that is capable on the DN spot, which is an important spot for them. Remember, again, we talk about the 4 major positions. We talk about quarterback. We talk about offensive line, particularly in the tackle area. Remember, they traded Laramie Tunsil.
That's correct.
So that's something they got to look at. The cornerback and DN. So if I was to estimate what Miami's going to do, it all feels like Tua, but I would say even if it's not Tua, because there may be some trade up here. Again, I look at the Giants and even potentially Washington, more likely the Giants as trade back partners here. Maybe even Detroit gets creative, though I think Detroit's really angling towards a corner. So that would leave them with an opportunity for Tua. But they have to be careful not to lose that spot. And the problem is if they really want Tua and they get afraid that someone's going to come up and pick them, they could start to eat into some of this capital with, by trading up out of 5. So but I could see them looking at a combination of going Tua. I could see them going at 18, more of a best player available, trying to find a dominant, maybe somebody that slid down the draft board that we didn't expect. They could go, I don't know if they'd want to go heavy tackle here on the D tackle. If they can find a good offensive lineman out there are some decent offensive linemen in the draft. And then at 26, I could see them making a splash at running back. And maybe that's a J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor spot there for them. Unless that running back doesn't get any motion, then you could see him sit out. Because again, you've heard me talk over and over again. I believe this is a good running back draft where people are going to find some value in the second round and potentially third and fourth even. So they've got a lot of flexibility. I think that's what they're going to do. But if you look at it, it's a team at cornerback. They've got Xavier Howard, which is a solid corner that that they've got. So, they've got a position there. They've just signed Shaq Lawson. If
Yep.
they go quarterback in the draft, and again, what they may do is they may be very aggressive on the O-line. I think in free agency, they got to start looking at wide receiver. They can get some value in the draft, but right now, the one thing was the emergence in the second half of the season of Devontae Parker, who has been really struggled to get his footing in the NFL, but really seemed to turn it on.
That's right. But he's been with Miami.
Yeah. But they need to go to that next level. Like he's going to struggle if he's it for that team. Remember, they just got a tight end, pass catching tight end in Gesicki last year in the second round. So this is a team that's right now they need to use this cash. I think they got to spend. If I was them, I would spend on value. I might be aggressive in one or two spots, but you don't want to chew up that $82 million by going up there and trying to hit the home run on the first couple of guys, because I don't think they're 1 year away, but they can be very competitive in this division. Remember, I mean, there's a chance that New England starts to come back down to earth. The Jets have struggled to get their footing. Buffalo is a very solid team, probably built for a little bit of time
I think
here.
that arrow's up.
But, and again, it's that whole idea that this is a division that everybody's been looking up at New England for 2 decades. Now, all of a sudden, it's possible that could change.
Yeah.
Drastically. So I think Miami's positioned well. I think they are better off being aggressive in the draft and signing, you got to sign one or two, I would call them like bell cows in my mind. And I think they can go in a lot of different places with that. Remember, they got Christian Wilkins at D tackle, so they got some push in the middle there. He's a smaller guy, more of a penetrator. So you might be able to go find somebody with some size on the market. I think linebacker is an area where they could probably be more cost effective and get some talent there. But I see this team. I would look at it as a 2-year building plan, and I think within 2 years, this is a team that legitimately could be very strong. But they got a lot they got to hit on this year. This is their year. This is their year that turns it all around, and this is a team that's sucked for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think. I mean, I think, I know we have wide receiver, O-line, running back, D, but as I start to think about it more, I mean, like, they could really use a running back. And, I mean, I'm just trying to think of, if they're going to be aggressive in free agency, like, I don't know that there's a running back in free agency that you would drool over right now.
No, I think if I was them, I would look at a guy. Let me think of somebody that could be out there. I want to look like that's not if
Melvin Gordon. You could try a Melvin Gordon.
You could, but again, you're going to be spending a lot of money. My feeling is I want to go after a guy that can take some snaps. Like let me take kind of a type of running back, even if he's not available, that I would partner him with. Maybe somebody like. God, I got to think. Like I was thinking of like Lamar Miller, kind of like, but he was already there.
He was there.
But my idea being, I'm bringing this guy in just because I need to know that he can start a few games. But I think I'm being aggressive and I'm taking a running back no later than first pick in the second round. My first pick in the second round, because they're going to have a high pick, obviously, in the second round. So
Jordan Howard is out there.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good one. Like somebody that that's carried the rock a little bit, but has a little bit. Lamar Miller is probably a little too old. Maybe Lamar Miller 3 years ago, but a running back that I'm not bringing in, like to be my long-term starter. Like I think they need to be aggressive at running back. They killed themselves when they traded for Mark Walton and. They knew he had a 4-game suspension, but then all of a sudden he goes on his 4-game suspension. I think he beat the hell out of his pregnant girlfriend or something horrible and was thrown off the team. They have Balaj, who was god awful this year. So, I think they just need to establish veteran. Like Jordan Howard, I think is a perfect example. Like that's a good running back, a guy that you can put behind with Fitzgerald. Fitzpatrick, excuse me, for another year and kind of like grind it out if you had to, where you don't have to run the wheels off whatever rookie you get. But I think they need to get a rookie. I think I need to get a rookie, and I think I need to get a good rookie.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking over. I mean, they could do. They have, with the money they have, they could make some really big name moves in their set, like in terms of like the secondary and the linebacking core. You could go out and get somebody like, even on the later end. I'm looking at some of these lower down, like Jimmy Ward, safety. You got somebody like who did I see right there? Jimmy Smith at corner.
Yeah, if I was them,
Xavier Rhodes,
I would resist all my urges to get into the first wave, and then I would get my face in the bowl and the second wave hits, and you get these cheaper contracts because you can fill multiple spots. This team probably more than anything needs some veteran leadership. You know, that they've struggled with that. This is a team you remember where as soon as they traded Laramie Tunsil at the beginning of the year, every player wanted out of that place. Kenyon Drake forced his way out of there. Minka Fitzpatrick forced his way out of there. I think they need some of those guys that can establish a core, but I think they can get those kind of guys. And I think some of them you just mentioned. I mean, Jimmy Smith comes from a well-pedigreed defense, understands how to play the game. Is he a little older? Yeah. But you need those because you are about to bring in a huge crop of youth. Yeah, that's going to need some direction. So I think you want to look at pedigree of where these guys come from.
You could bring in a guy like Blake Martinez at linebacker from the Packers. That would be a good play. There's a few. Yeah, Snacks. You got Snacks out there. You could drop him in the middle with the older veteran with the young Christian Wilkins. And they can make some moves. I'm excited to see what they do just because they're the ones with the most money.
I'm just hoping they're patient. And something I want to say is I don't know that I watched a coach walk into a worse situation than their coach walked into last year, Flores. It'd be nice to see them give that guy some people to go with, and to make good decisions. Like, to me, they have a chance to make a really sound investment in their future. But then you also see teams like Cleveland, and I watch them and I go, that is the exact opposite of what I would have done for that team, because you brought in way too, don't go for the name. Don't go for the crazy. You could put butts in the seats next year by winning games that they're not traditionally winning, and I think they can do it exactly the way that you're just outlined. Those kind of guys are exactly who this team needs, and build with youth.
Yeah. What else? Anything else? I mean,
I'd spend it. I would go out and look at spending at wide receiver. Like if Stephon Diggs, I know there's some, sometimes with him, but I got to admit that guy has played hard in his career, even when he's been a little disgruntled. Like, maybe go out and spend some money at receiver.
Yeah, I mean, you could get a couple. I mean, there's some guys on the back 50 of this free agency list that I still think are solid. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, that's especially with a guy like Fitzpatrick. I think that's a great guy you could come in and drop in the slot because Parker's playing outside, so you don't have to worry about that. In terms of other receivers, I mean, like Robbie Anderson, I don't know if he's worth the money he's going to command. I'll be honest, even if it's $7 million, I don't know I'd pay Robbie Anderson that money, dude.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you get in that first round of free agency, you are overpaying. I don't care what anybody says. It's so seldom where you didn't overpay in that first bit of. If they wait, there's going to be so much talent left. If I'm going to pay for a good guy, I want to pay market value. I don't want to pay, a true market value as opposed to initial market value, which is going to be out of control. Like Robbie Anderson is not going to be a number one receiver. You know why I know that? Because he wasn't a number one receiver at the Jets.
And they wanted him. They needed him to.
They needed him to be. And Jamison Crowder totally took it from him last year on a horrible Jets offense. Horrible. And he took it from him.
Yep. So, but I mean, there's not many other wide receivers. I mean, a lot of them are long in the tooth. Tajay Sharp, Randall Cobb. Who else did I see down?
Hey, another route too is you think about it.
Nelson Aguilar isn't long in the tooth, but Funchess, Demaryius Thomas. Holy mackerel! I can't believe the guy's still playing.
Well, here's the other thing they can do. Remember, they can also take on short-term contracts in a trade, and they maybe can get even more draft capital because they're flush with cash, but then clearing themselves for like next year or the year beyond. Right. So this is a team I think that I think out of this year, I want to see, you always hear me talk about this, I want to see what their vision is. Like how do they envision this team? I think the number 5 pick is going to start to state that.
Yep.
And if it's Tua, then I think we know.
Then we know where they're going. Yep. We know where they're going. All right. Well, that's all we have to say about Miami. So let's wrap them up. We'll move on to the New York Jets.